Mr. Simmonds?
I think it's important that you know that we didn't have any idea what they were going to present the other night when they presented it. 1 or 2 days before the meeting, we got a single sheet for each presenter, which gave their names, who they were, and a one-sentence description of what they were going to talk about. The council, prior to that time, best of my knowledge, none of us had seen anything about what those proposals would be. Now, I can tell you I didn't, and I don't believe my colleagues did either. My sense from my colleagues, I can't talk to them, so I can't ask them except at this dais what they know or what they've seen or discuss the merits of anything, so we can only do it here. But I'm telling you, that's all we saw. Now, I think one of the most destructive things I've ever seen happen, a group of citizens almost this large appeared before the airport committee, and one of the citizens accused the airport committee of being stupid for approving all this nonsense. Those folks didn't even get a sheet of paper. They didn't know what they were talking about. So the airport committee hadn't even seen this, except the other night they sat in the audience and they heard it when you did and when I did. And I think it's important that you know that we didn't hear those presentations. We made no, as the judge said, we made no deals ahead of time, and we're telling you the truth, and we do want your input. And what will happen to these things in the future, I haven't a clue. I do know there's a committee that has been appointed and been in business sometimes. They may make a recommendation, but Marty Black sent them on they met the other day to look at these presentations to see if one or more of them should even be considered further. They never even got to that. Because of the reaction of the community, they decided to go a different route. And so I don't think there's going to be any consideration of any of those things until after we've met with the airport committee, and you can attend that if you'd like, and discussed it. My sense is nothing's coming out of this until there have been several meetings with, you might call it a charrette, and you've had your input. After that, will anything happen on these particular presentations? If anything happens with any of those people that made those presentations, it'll be severely and dramatically altered in order to make it acceptable to you. This council has no desire to come up with something that you're going to be upset about. And the one other thing that I'd like to say, if anybody wanted to upset you, what would they do? Circulate the rumor that we're going to close down the golf course or restrict your ability to it. I hadn't heard that before until I heard it from the audience the other night. I don't know of any discussions about approving any scheme that would do that. And I want you to know that the future is the future, and what happens then, fine. But up till now, nothing's been approved. And I don't know if anything ever will be approved. Thank you, Mayor.
Judge Moore?
I just need to correct or clarify one thing that Mr. Simmonds mentioned. He mentioned a committee. There is no committee anymore. I think council asked me to sit with the city manager, the city attorney, and the airport manager at one time and do a preview of these proposals, and I did that. And we met and discussed them, and it was decided at that time that these proposals were so expansive and so broad that there was no way we could make any recommendations whatsoever, and it was suggested they simply make their presentation to council and the public, which they did. The function of that committee no longer exists as far as I'm concerned. So there is no committee in that sense. There are certainly staff. They're not going anywhere, but there's no more committee, and nobody's going to pick anybody or make any recommendations.
Well, I was referring to the city manager.
Okay.
The assistant, I call him the assistant city attorney, is Bob's partner and the airport manager met the other day to look at these things, and they never even looked at them seriously. They decided, hey, we're not even going to look at this. We're going to do something entirely different.
Mr. Mayor, could
Can we
I
deal
also
with
correct?
item number 4?
Yes, but I'd also like to correct the record because materials were provided to council members well in advance of the workshop. They were available in your meeting room. Staff did provide a summary of each proposal, but the actual proposals and those materials were available in council chambers for you to review. So I don't want folks to leave with the impression that none of those materials were available for council members to review. They were in the council offices for review. And
What was submitted to us, City Manager, was one sheet of paper with exactly on it what I said was on it. If you want to look at that table you're talking about, it's piled probably 2 feet high with papers. I didn't
Actually,
see any of them, and maybe I should have dug through those papers and dug them out. I haven't seen them.
Those proposals were in the city clerk's office. They weren't on that table where we normally have them, and I had to ask to find out where they were, so we did. I know I reviewed them a couple of days before the presentations.
And I went through them thoroughly the night before. I purposely didn't do it until towards the end. I had an overview of what they were, but I didn't want to know too much because I didn't want to get any preconceived ideas. I like to hear it as you folks hear it, so I get the same reactions that you do. So the night before, I went through and thoroughly read through them, but I wanted it to be fresh right then and not ahead of time. The book of them.
Okay, I didn't see them.